This is the Sunday stream opening song because the other song is copyrighted. La 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 la. Oh look, here comes Dog Cat Fox.
Hi, Sky.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday stream. The stream I do on Sundays because Sunday is the day to stream on Sundays. Hope you're all doing well on this beautiful Sunday morning. It's certainly more beautiful than the last few days have been in my little world. I have light and heat and stuff to do and the ability to interact with the outer world. The outer world. But yeah, so hope everybody's doing well on this Sunday morning. Ready to get into some news and schnews. But before we get there, who's joining me on this beautiful Sunday morning? Keeverdam, good morning, and thank you, Keeverdam, as always, for providing a link to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, everybody. Top of the chat box, there's a donation link there. If you take a look at that, please donate if you are able, and even if you're not, if you can, share that out on social media. That would be appreciated. As I've mentioned previously, my father, earlier this year, was diagnosed with leukemia, and he is still in the fight, as it were. Still doing well. We're going to have our mid-holiday get-together here soon. We call Thanksmas, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And glad to be able to have that time with him. But yeah, if you can donate, appreciate it. And thank you, Keeverdam, for providing the link. Alexander, good morning. Miranda Stone, good morning. Oh my gosh, everybody, it's Miranda Stone! Good morning, Miranda Stone. Tier Alexander, the Scourge, good morning. Holy cow, Walter Tomaszewski. Tell me I got that right, Tomaszewski. People voted against Harris, then voted for Trump. Americans have voted against a candidate since the Vietnam War, perhaps even the Civil War. Very possibly true. A protest vote, or just, the lesser of two evils, or a vote against the status quo. The problem is that unless you know the mind of every individual voter, you can't even come close to knowing for sure what everyone's motivations are. So anybody can take the results however they will, but the end result is Trump is president. And that's a message in and of itself to some people. How they decide to interpret it is, well, everybody's individual business, I suppose. But thank you so much, Walter. Appreciate it. Hope you're having a good weekend. Hope you enjoy the show. Let's see. JB, good morning. TFA Oryx, good morning. Mike Savage, Blarg. Mike R, good morning. Hero Soldier, good morning. Alice Morgan, good morning to you. Zan Wild, caught 2 lives in a row. Well, it's almost like 2 live crew, but not. In a way. Good morning, Zane Wild. Casual, good morning. The Best Remy, good morning to you. The internet's favorite lunatic, good morning. Samnamnyon Nation, good morning. Corey Suzuki, happy Sunday to you. Tall Person, good morning. Who else is here? Michiru Kirarugi, good morning. How am I this morning? In relative terms, I'm doing great. I slept last night in heat. It was amazing. I don't know what to say. Brian Morissette, good morning. Who else is here? Oh my gosh. Leanna Johnston, good morning to you. Chris Gilroy, good morning. Good afternoon, Mr. Scribe. Happy Thanksgiving. Sure. Is it a question? Sure. I'm going to have a 4-day weekend, so that's happy. Shadowclaw, good morning. Timothy Seelbeck, holy cow. Boy, it's just old home week this week. Just calling out names I haven't said in quite a while. Good morning, Timothy. Hope you're doing well. And anybody else, check your mic connection, you're sounding crackly. Uh-oh. Is that true? Uh-oh. Mic static. Uh-oh. Well, let me check something here real quick. No, audio looks fine there. Yeah, that looks fine. I don't know. Audio is super sketchy. Uh-oh. Well, let me unplug and plug back in. One moment. Testing. Okay, well, I unplugged and restarted my audio software. You'll have to tell me if it's better or worse now. I'll try to continue in the meantime until you guys tell me this is untenable. Duck Dog, thank you so much. The lesser of two evils, subject to the requirements of the service. It's true. Sounds very old school Navy to me for some reason. Thank you so much, Duck Dog. Sounds better? Better? Okay. Well, yeah, I unplugged the microphone. I restarted my audio software, so I hope that improves things. Apologies to anybody who was having to suffer through some static earlier. But now, let's move on to the show. I've got a few articles here, and I have one submitted by a viewer. Now, I apologize. I keep meaning to do this. It's been third week in a row, I think. I want some user-submitted articles and stories. I can't see all places all times. I am perhaps omnipotent, but I'm not omniscient. And so, if you have any stories you'd like me to read during the course of the show, I can't promise I'll get to them all. You can post them now into the Sunday stream section of the Discord server. If you're not a member of the Discord server, well, there'll be a link for you later on in the show. You just have to pay attention for a while. I know, it's the price you have to pay. Asan! Holy cow, thank you so much for the #1 Samurai Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat Fox!
Wow. Wow.
Ooh, there's a Sinatra Says Dogcat Fox. Thank you so much, Asan. That's very generous of you. Appreciate it. Yeah, gosh, #1 Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat Fox. You like that, don't you, Dogcat Fox? Yeah, Dogcat Fox likes that. He's just sitting here by my side. He's always very attentive. He's like, you know, waiting for his bit, as it were. He's over here. Yes, we're still on the moon, by the way. Duck Dog. See, I was thinking Master and Commander. That's why I said so Old Navy for a second there, not the the cologne, so to speak, but or Old Spice, or actually Old Navy's the clothes store, Old Spice is the cologne. Never mind. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Yes, Master and Commander, the other Russell Crowe movie that is a piece of perfection that actually doesn't get as much attention as it should for its historical attention to detail and just acting, writing, the whole 9 yards. It's great. It's great. All right. Well then. Let's move on to the wonderful world of the schnooze, shall we? But yes, if you have articles or news stories you'd like me to try to read on the air, please post them into the Sunday stream section on the Discord. I have one submitted today from You're Ridiculous Lunatic, and so I'll get to that presently. But first, oh boy, it's time to face the music. Harris and Walz. Oh, it's coming up. Harris and Walz to address top donors next week. Oh boy. Can you imagine burning through $1 billion and losing horrifically? I could. You know how I could? Well, because I remember back in 2019 when Kamala Harris burned through $40 million and completely failed utterly at a presidential run. Somehow, people thought this time was going to be different. We all know the definition of insanity, don't we? Robert Pincus, good morning. And Jill Powers, the River Daughter, good morning to you. Let's read about how upcoming. I wish I could be on a fly on the wall for this one. I really hope someone records it. Somehow. I'd love to hear it. Vice President Harris and her vice presidential pick, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, will address her campaign's top donors over a call next week, a source familiar with the planning told The Hill. The meeting comes weeks after Harris lost to President-elect Trump in the 2024 presidential election. Trump won all 7 battleground states, secured the popular vote, and made gains in some Democratic strongholds. The 2024 Democratic ticket will speak with their National Finance Committee on Tuesday at 2:45 p.m. Eastern, the source said. Quote, "Your support and leadership made this campaign possible." Oh boy, did it. And the vice president and Governor Walz are looking forward to having the opportunity to reconnect and express their appreciation for your partnership and support. Democratic National Committee Finance Directors Michael Pratt and Colleen Coffey said in the invitations to donors that were reviewed by the Hill's partner, News Nation. I wonder if the donors will have the opportunity to speak back, or if it's going to be a lecture call. The Harris campaign broke fundraising records during the 3-month period on the campaign trail, bringing in north of $1 billion. You hear that, everybody? $1 billion. But in the aftermath of the loss to Trump, the campaign's spending strategy has come under scrutiny, with the operation reportedly being $20 million in debt. So $1 billion, $20 million lost on a absolutely, utterly failed campaign. Not even a single swing state. $1 billion. I'm reminded of when Beto O'Rourke ran against, was it Ted Cruz? I think it was Ted Cruz. And Beto O'Rourke had gadzooks amounts of money as compared to Ted Cruz. And he lost. Money does not buy love. There's an old song that kind of tells us this lesson. Quote, as of Election Day, there were no outstanding debts or bills overdue, and there will be no debt on either the DNC or HFP report for post-general report. Okay, Patrick Stauffer, Harris campaign's chief financial officer, said in a response earlier this week. Yeah, I wonder how many Peters and Pauls they had to beg and borrow from to make that happen. Some Democrats have scrutinized the campaign's spending choices. Some Democrats, I think the public at large has, after we all found out how many millions were paid to celebrities, how many hundreds, thousands or something dollars was spent to create a set for a podcast in D.C. just to show off that they weren't at the actual podcast set. Yeah, anyway, including expenditures on production related to celebrity-filled events with Beyonce, Oprah Winfrey, and other A-listers. Others have called for an audit of campaign spending along with allied super PACs. Well, best of luck with that one. I'll be amazed if the DNC ever opens up its books to an audit. Quote, as part of the autopsy of this campaign, autopsy's a good turn of phrase, an audit of all funding should be done, so we understand what went right and what went wrong, unquote. Democratic strategist Rodell Molyneux said, quote, when you lose, you question everything, but we shouldn't start with every dollar that was spent was stupid money, unquote. Well, I'm sure not every dollar spent was stupid money, but, you know, $1 billion plus 20 million vanished and brought nothing, so I think it's probably worth a question. Anyway, I really hope that either a transcript or a recording of that call happens, and I really hope, they don't mention it here, that donors have the opportunity to ask questions. I know that even if they do, they will receive no satisfactory answers. But I would love it if they had the opportunity, at least, to vent. Meh just says, Beatles. Well, good morning, meh. And Faithless, good morning. It was closer to 1.5 billion. I could believe it. You know, after months and years of hearing about expenditures for movies and productions and such, and the things that I'm learning peripherally from my friends over at Midnight's Edge, the number they quote is rarely the number actually spent. They try to mitigate it as much as they can, which usually isn't much, but sometimes can be a little bit. But anyway, so there you go. Yeah, that's something, again, fingers crossed, knock Formica, somebody records that, and we get to hear it, and donors get to ask some questions. But moving on, let's talk about Australia. Let's talk about Australia. Let's talk about Australia for a second here. I saw this yesterday, and I thought this was good news, but also, you know, a sign of the times in a way. And I just have to wonder how long the forces of darkness, so to speak, can be held back. Maybe it's easier now. Maybe a Trump win will make it easier. Maybe the thankfully, although slowly dying DEI woke culture will make this an easier dragon to slay, but we'll see. Australian government drops bill on social media misinformation. If ever there was a terrible word that has come out, especially since the pandemic, misinformation. The Australian government won't proceed with legislation won't proceed with legislation that would have forced social media sites to crack down on, and I'm putting air quotes here, misinformation on their platforms after failing to win enough cross-party support. Well, thank goodness for Australia. Quote, based on public statements and engagement with senators, it is clear there is no pathway to legislate this proposal through the Senate, unquote, Communications Minister Michelle Rowland said in a statement Sunday. The Communications Legislation Amendment Bill, CLA, CLAB? You got the CLAB. Are they trying to go for like collaboration or something? Anyway, the Communications Legislation Amendment Bill, which aimed to combat harmful content on digital platforms, was criticized by the opposition as an attempt to suppress free speech. Well, I think demonstrably so. The Labour government of Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is pushing ahead with plans to ban children under the age of 16 from using social media. Good luck with that one, with firms required to enforce the new regulations or face potential fines. Ban children under the age of 16 from using social... Okay, now, let's say that such a thing were passed. How could you make sure of that? What kind of hoops would you have to jump through to verify one's age for any social media account on any social media platform? Right? I mean, how many personal identifications would I have to then scan or provide directly to a social media company in order to verify my age? Privacy concerns abound in that notion. Rowland urged all parliamentarians to work with the government on other proposals to keep Australians safe online while safeguarding values like freedom of expression. Quote, mis and disinformation is an evolving threat, and no single action is a perfect solution. Okay, dude, questionable information is not a new idea. I don't know what to tell you. This is not a new idea. Rumors and speculation, I think, have been in existence since, the dawn of time. All right, what you do to combat rumors and speculation is with verifiable facts. And, dare I say it, a media complex that is fueled more by getting to as much of an objective truth as possible than their ratings numbers. I know, it's a crazy thing to hope for, but hope springs eternal. Mis and disinformation is an evolving threat, and no single action is a perfect solution. But we must continue to improve safeguards to ensure digital platforms offer better protections for Australians, she said. Or, I might be suspicious enough to think you want to ensure protections for your narrative versus others that might compete with it. I know. Once you start putting the keys to free speech in the hands of individual humans, fallible, swayable individual humans. Anyway, Shadow Communications Minister, Shadow Stevens. No, Shadow Communications Minister David Coleman said all supporters of free speech can celebrate that the misinformation bill, quote, is now in the bin where it belongs. For now. Whoops. I didn't mean to. I wanted to get that thing away. I hate these ads. Go away, ads. Stop it. Let's see. The legislation allowed Rowland to personally order misinformation investigations and misinformation hearings, he said. This would be expected in a dystopian novel, not The Great Democracy of Australia. Well, The Great Democracy of Australia. There's a great YouTube channel out there, some of you may be familiar with it, called Friendly Jordies. And in addition to his skits and comedy, he has done just yeoman's work over the years exposing a little less than a great democracy in Australia in a lot of places. But I'll leave that to Friendly Jordies to tell you. Just look up his videos on Barrasso. I forget exactly what his nickname was, but anyway, yeah, his arch nemesis, Barrasso. But yeah, my best wishes to my Australian friends and viewers. I'm glad that your country isn't completely sold out yet, but ever vigilant remain ever vigilant. Let's see. Empress, New Mexico. I hope that's what that means. Misinformation used to be mitigated by a populace that thought for themselves. That's the solution, not safety guardrails. Yeah, a populace that thought for themselves, and a news media that was not beholden to the powers that be, or necessarily to ratings numbers, and so on. Critical thinking, common sense, check your sources. Think about who is telling you this message and what their motivations might be. Entertain competing notions about something. Even if you don't end up accepting them, at least open your mind to the possibility that what you're hearing could be, skewed or wrong, or that your own perspective might be informed by an opposite viewpoint. This is the kind of virtues we have to reinstill into people. That you might have to listen to something you don't want to hear because it's possible it may be truer than the thing you want to believe. I don't know. Crazy idea. Let's see. Jill Powers, the River Daughter. Believe me, my husband is an Army vet, and he knows all kinds of things that y'all have no idea how much our government is capable of doing. Oh, I mean, just what trickles out over time from the history books of governments, ours and beyond. In the service to a particular agenda, a particular way of thinking, people in power and given power will make use of it, even against the interests of their own people, if they think it's going to get them ahead somehow politically or cover their own rears or who knows what. This is why, again, everybody has to keep their eyes open, their ears open, and their minds open. But enough preaching. Let's move on to, telling us we can't say certain things. Going from free speech to free speech. But in this case, we're being told we can't invoke one of the more moralistic lines of thinking of our nation's history. Boston Democrat Pressley tells Republicans to keep MLK's name out of your mouths in anti-DEI fight. So Ayanna Pressley's gone all Will Smith on the Republicans' Chris Rock. All right, let's find out how this works. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley says a bill that would eliminate federal DEI programs, is a, quote, utter disgrace, unquote, demanding Republicans who back the legislation not to quote Martin Luther King Jr. Now, I wonder what of Martin Luther King Jr.'s many quotable quotes she might be referencing there. I wonder if it might have something to do with the content of character, not the color of skin, which is antithetical. That sentiment is antithetical to what DEI drives to do. So I wonder if she just can't hold these two things at the same time, as both honoring, the message of MLK and his I Have a Dream speech, but also defending DEI. How does she juggle this? If approved, the Dismantled DEI Act of 2024 would ban diversity, equity, and inclusion programs within the federal government and prevent associated mandates in federal contracting and grants. We were just talking about this last night on the ambush stream. DEI and public procurement. I'm very, happily surprised that last night's topic comes into play here. But yes, the contracting avenue when it comes to federal grants. We covered it last night with the public procurement thing. We covered it previously with the Department of Transportation under Pete Buttigieg doing the same thing. And it goes on and on and on, where you have these federal contracts that are mandated that some percentage of their budgets or some amount of their contracts have to be set aside for businesses specifically run by certain demographics or combinations thereof, and excluded from being offered to, or being the opportunity being provided to, anybody who falls outside of those demographics. Which is, again, I know it sounds like such a tired refrain at this point, antithetical to the federal law. Yeah, Civil Rights Act of 1964. If ever there was a star to guide by, Title VI and Title VII, fundamentally, when it comes to either federal and public conduct, in deciding who gets opportunities for what, And yet, constantly, under the rubric of an affirmative action policy or trying to right the historical wrongs and so on and so forth, I've made the argument before. There was a time right after the Civil Rights Act of 1964, a kind of probationary period, nebulous, certainly, but all the same, where you could argue that, yes, perhaps it was fair to give certain advantages to previously disadvantaged by law demographics in this country to try to make up for lost time. You can't fix it. You can't rewrite history, but at least maybe you give people who've been pressed down by the law for generations an opportunity to make up for it a little bit. But that probationary period cannot last forever. There has to come a point where you say, no, the fundamental values of this country have to be enforced across the board and fairly, i.e. the 14th Amendment, and likewise in conjunction with Title VI and Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And thankfully, it took long enough, but by 2023, the Supreme Court effectively drew a line in the sand and said, with the end of affirmative action, now's the time. The probationary period is over, now is the time. And thankfully, it seems like, slowly but surely, it is falling apart. The DEI, the affirmative action thinking, we go back to either you have the merit to earn this opportunity or you don't. And if you don't, it's not a comment on your worth as a person. No different than the fact that I'm never going to be an NBA basketball star doesn't mean I'm a worthless person. It just means my bank balance is decidedly smaller than, say, LeBron James. But that's beside the point. Republicans argued that the DEI programs, quote, waste taxpayer dollars, unquote, and so, quote, harmful ideology, unquote. I would tend to agree. While Pressley and Democratic colleagues contend the initiatives are in response to systemic racism. Well, Ayanna Pressley, tell me how a DEI philosophy that elevates certain people above others on the basis of non-determinative elements of their makeup, and then making that part of federal policy, is not itself systemic racism, systemic sexism, systemic, what do you want to call, like systemic orientationalism or something? Pressley blasted Republicans during a House Oversight Committee hearing last week, describing their approach to the bill as, quote, predictable as it is nonsensical. Quote, on the one hand, they're saying that racism does not exist. Pressley said, no, racism will always exist. There will always be people out there who decide to elevate or denigrate people on the basis of their appearance, their gender, it's always going to exist. The question is, are you going to continually reward such thinking with federal money? Are you going to incentivize people to propagate that thinking forward into the future with taxpayer money? Quote, on the one hand, they're saying that racism does not exist, Pressley said. I'd be surprised if anybody's actually saying that, but anyway, quote, on the other hand, they are saying there is rampant reverse racism, unquote. No, there's no such thing as reverse racism. No, there's just racism. Again, if you elevate and or denigrate someone or an entire demographic on the basis of their skin color, their ethnicity, whatever, that's racism. There's no reverse racism. Ayanna Pressley is stuck in 2016. But then I guess we all are again now because Trump's president again. Quote, do you all know your history, she added. Do you know American history? Well, admittedly, I'm an English major, not a history major, but I know enough to say that if you promote a philosophy that puts a value on someone's appearance over their ability, you are not an American. I don't know how much clearer to make it. I don't know how much more fundamental to the idea of this country that we should and should continue to promote is personal merit and setting aside aesthetic qualities as an evaluation of someone's worth. But apparently Ayanna Pressley doesn't understand how DEI works. The Boston Democrat then connected structural racism to the need for DEI initiatives, outlining historic shortfalls such as how the, quote, original Constitution counted enslaved individuals as 3/5 of a person, unquote. Well, they also used to think that the sun revolved around the earth. But that thinking went by the wayside, and we kind of operate differently now. It's called outdated thinking. It's called defunct law. She also highlighted how the GI Bill denied black Americans, quote, equal access to education and housing benefits, which is why we do not have generational wealth, unquote. How much money do you have, Ayanna Pressley? How much money does Beyonce have? How much money does a whole bunch of people have? Look, you cannot make up for the past. You can't. You cannot fix what came before. You can only apologize and promise to do better. That's what the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and subsequent legislation have done. Okay? I don't know what to tell you. How are you in the position you are in, Ayanna Pressley? How is it possible that a black woman is in a position of political power in this country, Ayanna Pressley, if it is so racist? Pressley, toward the end of her remarks, told Republicans to, quote, please keep Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s name out of your mouths, unquote. Quote, your perversion of his words and his mission, Pressley said, quote, when his children have asked you to stop invoking his name and perverting his work, when he was a proud and unapologetic black man fighting for equality for black Americans and all marginalized people. I don't know what to tell you. I don't idolize individuals all that much. You know, I don't hold individual people up on a pedestal because individual people are fallible. Everybody's got their flaws. But there are certain sentiments, there are certain values that can be offered up by individual people that are worth fighting for and worth standing up for. And whatever else Martin Luther King Jr. might have been, and whatever else his children might say now, the fundamental value of looking at people on the basis of who they are and not what they are will live on regardless of someone like Ayanna Pressley somehow confabulating DEI as a good thing, but also saying that somehow she holds up Martin Luther King Jr. as someone who shall not be touched. Quote, so you all are entitled to your opinions, she added, but not a denial of the facts. Okay, well, Ayanna Pressley, tell me why it is that so many corporations have been cutting their DEI budgets even before the affirmative action hearing, or the affirmative action decision, I should say. Why is that? I mean, let's set aside all the morality for a second. Let's look at like the cold calculations of capitalism. If DEI was such a boon, why would you cut the budget to it? If there was a direct line between we started a DEI program and now our profits are up 1,000,000%, why would you cut the budget? If it is a perfect golden goose of an idea, why is it falling out of favor? Why is there so much opposition? Why are the numbers not adding up? Even if you don't want to look at the morality of it, why are the numbers not adding up? How do you justify being systemically racist, sexist, orientationalist with federal funding and align that with Title VI and the 14th Amendment? Tell me how. Tell me how the arguments for affirmative action that were utterly dismissed by the Supreme Court also somehow justify DEI programs elsewhere in the federal government. Tell me. I'd love to hear it. Representative Clay Higgins, Republican of Louisiana, is an original co-sponsor of the bill and a staunch believer that DEI programs are a, quote, sweeping attack against equality. He's right. He believes the legislation would protect, quote, individuals' rights, liberties, and freedoms. I also tend to agree. Quote, I appreciate my Democrat colleague for exemplifying exactly the kind of oppression of freedoms that we are referencing, unquote, Higgins said in responding to Pressley. Quote, how about we'll quote whoever we want to quote? How about that's my First Amendment right? Oh, that feels so good. I don't have like an applause stinger in here anywhere. But at least in sentiment.
Bingo. What? Of course!
Bingo. In the sense of a, bingo, he's right on the nose. Let's see. Quote, "That's exactly the kind of baked-in oppression," he continued. "Like, how dare a white Republican quote Martin Luther King? We actually had a congressman say that just now in his committee," unquote. In the heated exchange, Pressley called Higgins a disgrace. Higgins fired back, quote, "And we will continue to speak freely because, now I'm a veteran. That's the country that I serve. That's a constitution I swore an allegiance to. And that oath has no expiration date. I will fight for it with my last life's blood for my right to speak freely and yours," unquote. Oh, gosh. You know, I'm feeling it. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Do, 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 do. Oh, wait, I'm singing a Jackson 5 song. How dare I? Anyway. Colleagues approved Pressley's amendment to exempt historically black colleges and universities from the bill's federal funding ban. Why? I'm sure colleagues approved of it, but why? Why should certain colleges with a historical connection to a specific skin color be given a preference? Think about what you are saying. Representative Michael Cloud, Republican of Texas, sponsored the bill that he said would also, quote, "ensure that federal accreditation bodies prioritize merit and qualifications over identity-based quotas," unquote. Good. There are more than 500 federal DEI initiatives today, according to conservative medical policy advocacy group Do No Harm. 500 federal DEI initiatives today. How much taxpayer money is being wasted on that? The Biden administration allocated more than $16 million for federal diversity training and an additional $83 million for related programs at the State Department in 2023, Cloud said in a release. Well, heck, $83 million, that's like 4 election concerts that Kamala could have held. If only we'd had that extra money. You know, maybe Alanis Morissette would have been able to give her concert or something for Kamala. The House Oversight Committee approved the bill 23-17, sending it out of committee on Thursday. Quote, "DEI programs masquerade as fairness while instead fostering division, inefficiency, and discrimination in our institutions," unquote, Cloud said in a statement. "They waste taxpayer dollars and undermine the merit-based principles that have made America strong," unquote. I'm hearing a beeping. Why am I hearing a beeping? Hold on a moment, guys. Something is beeping in my apartment. I'm hoping it's nothing terrible, but I must go check it, so hold on. Apologies for that. At first I thought it was like that sound of a truck backing up somewhere outside, but it was going on. I was like, what? Apparently, when I was trying to readjust my clock on my oven last night after the power came back on, somehow I had plugged in a timer to go off 10 hours later or something. I don't know. Anyway, I think maybe in the first attempt I typed in, or I put in the time of day, except I had the timer on and not the clock, and so I actually told it. Anyway, it's resolved now. No emergency. Everything's fine. Moving on. Let's see. Representative Jasmine Crockett, Democrat of Texas, also got into verbal sparring with Higgins as she took offense to his repeated use of the word oppression. She claimed white men have never been a target of discriminatory treatment. Wait, were we being told to, like, know your history earlier? You know where the word slave comes from? Quote, "There has been no oppression for the white men in this country," Crockett said. Oh, in this country. Oh, okay. Well, tell me about the Irish. Or do you not consider them white? Or the Jew. Or the Italian, or anybody else that you would now probably put into the white category. Are you kidding me? Quote, "You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean and told that you're going to go to work. We are going to steal your wives. We're going to rape your wives. That didn't happen. That is oppression. Oh. Somebody, you can't use the word oppression anymore. Can't use the word oppression anymore. Faithless draftees. Oh, wait, no, faithless. No, that never happened. That never happened. No, such things didn't happen. What about all the, wasn't it, God, was it Jefferson or was it Adams? I forget who it was that went to the, was it the Barbary States or something? Because they'd taken a whole bunch of United States citizens as slaves on a ship or something. I'm reaching back again. English major, not history major. But anyway, yeah, you've never had this before, so you can't speak. You've never been really oppressed, so you can't say that word. That's our word. Listen to yourself. I'm so glad. In a way, I'm kind of glad that that's happening the way that it is, because it means that they're flailing about because they're running out of gas. They're running out of leverage. They got nothing left but insults. I hope that DEI bill passes. I hope the whole thing gets shut down. I hope no more federal money goes off giving to people on the basis of what they look like, and instead on the basis of merit and ability. Let's just do that. Let's instill that kind of value back into our country. Man, it's days by days looking better. Everything's looking better. Let's move on to a little bit of crime news. I try to get in something about true crime in here a little bit. I have a little thing for that. But also news. After backlash, MSNBC changes headline for online piece claiming, quote, Laken Riley's killer never stood a chance. Almost sounds like you're taking sides with the murderous killer of an innocent girl. Little bit. Taking sympathy with him. MSNBC changed its headline on an analysis story about Jose Antonio Ibarra, an illegal immigrant that was convicted on Wednesday of murdering Georgia nursing student Laken Riley, after it was criticized for its original headline, quote, Laken Riley's killer never stood a chance, unquote. The updated headline reads, quote, the guilt of Laken Riley's killer was never in doubt, unquote. I realize that sometimes words and phrasing can be accidentally put out there and you have to, oh, whoops, I guess that didn't come across well. But still, for a news site, and of course it is MSNBC, so maybe they did have some sympathy for the illegal alien murderer, but who knows. Let's see. The outlet's article published on Thursday detailed how the legal defense team for Ibarra, quote, had no chance, unquote, because of the overwhelming evidence against their defendant. Yeah, it comes across a little bad. It sounds bad. It sounds sympathetic. It almost sounds like, what was that terrorist guy that died, and then the Washington Post described him as a erudite scholar or something. MSNBC's original headline was met with criticism on social media, as several took issue with it because it seemed sympathetic to Ibarra. Senator Mike Lee, our Republican of Utah, interpreted the headline as sympathetic to Riley's murderer. He wrote, quote, Laken Riley's killer is now the victim, according to MSNBC. MSNBC's article made the point that the verdict for Ibarra, who was convicted on multiple counts of murder and other crimes, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, was, quote, never in doubt, unquote, as it was a, quote, hopeless case for the defense team. Again, I can see how you could be completely on point with your description, but it does come across as a little bit, shucks, or golly gee, if only they'd had an edge. MSNBC did not immediately respond to a request for comment from Fox News Digital. Donald Trump Jr. also commented on the original headline. He wrote on the social media site X, at least they're not calling it like X, formerly Twitter, anymore. I don't hear that so much. Quote, you literally can't make up this level of depravity. Those people are sick. The guy is a murderer. He's an illegal alien that killed an innocent young woman, but MSNBC would rather go to bat for him. However much you hate MSNBC, it's not enough. Quote, sometimes defense counsel just gets handed a truly awful, unwinnable case. It's true. It's true. Sometimes their client is guilty as sin, as they say. The defense's choice of a bench trial not only saved the state the resources of a wasted jury trial, it also likely avoided unnecessarily prolonging this traumatic experience for the victim's family, the final paragraph of MSNBC's analysis read. This is true. Going for a bench trial, it does take out a lot of the procedures, pomp, circumstance, and cost of a trial. So I guess it is an admission after a fashion that there probably is more evidence there than can possibly be argued against. So, as I say, I have a feeling that whoever wrote that headline and so on did not actually mean to take sides with the killer, but honestly, it does sound a bit Switzerland. At the very least, it sounds a bit Switzerland on the subject. Not a good look. Quote, and this is why MSNBC, the brand, is being sold off for pennies, the Spectator contributing editor Stephen Miller wrote, referencing recent news that the NBC News and MSNBC parent company Comcast is planning to spin off several NBC Universal networks, including MSNBC. That's a whole other story. I don't know if I'm sure Midnight's Edge has covered it, but yeah, MSNBC. Probably best exemplified by what happened with the Morning Joe show, where Joe Scarsborough and Mika Brzezinski for months were telling everybody how Donald Trump is the coming of the next National Socialist leader of Germany from the 1930s, because I don't know what YouTube's going to do to me if I say the wrong word. And then as soon as he wins the election, they go down to Mar-a-Lago and kiss the ring. And it's like, okay, well, even if your most stalwart defenders believed in you, they have absolutely no reason to at that point. Yeah, MSNBC, CNN's ratings just fell through the floor because everything they'd been saying, all the assurances they'd been giving for months, turned out to be absolutely nothing. Built on popsicle sticks and baling wire. And so who can you trust? Who can you trust? Duck Dog. Switzerland isn't neutral. Those bastards go with whoever pays the most. Okay. It's a euphemism. You know what I mean. I don't mean it literally. Not literally, but you know. Also, good morning, Roasted Opinions. Hope you're doing well this morning. Let's see. So now, in the latter part of the show, we move on to viewer-submitted articles. I only have one so far. And remember, if you'd like to submit an article for me to read on the air and credit you with submitting it, the best place to go is to the Sunday Stream section on the Discord server. Now, on the off chance that you're not part of the Discord server already, I will, even though it's not the end of the show yet, provide you a link in the chat right now to the Discord server. Click on that link, you'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello, and in addition to saying hello, just say article as the secret word, which will tell me that you're not a bot, and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. Just say hello article, and I'll know that you're watching the show. And if you have an article you'd like me to read on the show, put a link to that article, to that story, in the Sunday Stream section on the Discord server, and I'll take a look at it when I can. Hey, Let Him Cook, a.k.a. Satsu's 2 cents, is in the chat. You guys know about Satsu 2 cents. This is my friend Satsu, a.k.a. Chef Tyrone, founder, owner, and CEO of Oishi Fried Chicken, LLC, featuring a new line of signature spice mixes. Chef Tyrone's homemade blends are the perfect gateway to delicious fried chicken or any other protein you might prefer. These recipes were painstakingly tested in Tyrone's home kitchen to bring you all the fantastic flavors you and your family can enjoy. The current flavor lineup includes original, spicy, lemon garlic herb, barbecue rub, and taco seasoning. You can buy individual packs of your favorite flavors or save some money with a variety bundle, all through the online store. And Oishi Fried Chicken ships nationwide. Go to www.oishifc.com and order today. What? I'm too sick to argue at this point. Too sick with what? Did I miss something? I have been literally off the grid for the previous 4 days, Satsu, so something's up, and I missed it. I apologize. I was without power from Tuesday night into yesterday evening. So if something's up, I didn't mean to annoy you. If I'm sorry. Okay, I'll just go over here. Oh, the whole 2 Cents family is sick. Oh no! Did you catch the flu? Did the little one bring something home from school? Ugh. Well, the spice is the universe. The universe is the spice. You've got plenty of spice around you. I'm sure you'll be well soon. I hope. Ugh. Rest up. Drink your fluids. Hit me up in the... Did I miss something in the DMs? Now the wife got us all... Oh, it's Squishy's fault? Ah, the old lady did it. All right, well, we know who to blame. We know who to blame. Well, that's why it's time for Dr. Satsu to show up and fix everything, right? With his chipper assistant, Squeetus. No longer quite a Squeetus, but all the same. Well, I hope you guys rest up. Hope everybody gets better soon. Sorry to hear that. Also, I did just fulfill an order today. Good! Yes, guys, that wasn't a joke. For those of you that might be new to the channel, that was a real ad for a real business run by my real friend, Satsu 2 Cents. So yeah, if you like to cook and like spices and yummy food and things you can use to cook with, check out Oshi Fried Chicken and help support a fellow YouTuber and chef on there. And if you want me to run the ad again, Satsu, just give me the word. I'll do it. But let's get on to the user-submitted story. And this comes to us from Your Ridiculous Lunatic, who is curious and wants people to know about the Russia's experimental ballistic missile used to strike Ukraine is based on the RS-26 Rubez. Rubez? Something. Yes, this happened while I was in the dark, literally. Russia launched what I had first seen reported when what little of the outside world I had connection to, an ICBM, purportedly for the first time in a military conflict. We are now getting details about the weapon used in the unprecedented attack on Ukraine earlier today, and as in today, they are referencing back on the 21st. With Russian President Vladimir Putin saying his country's forces fired a previously unknown medium-range hypersonic missile called Orishnik. I'm saying that correctly. The new design is based on the previous RS-26 Rubez ballistic missile, according to the Pentagon. Readers can get up to speed on what else is already known about the missile strike on eastern Ukraine city of Dnipro in the war zone's initial reporting here. Ukrainian authorities had initially claimed that the weapon Russia fired today was an intercontinental ballistic missile. Okay, so I was mistaken. Subsequent reports citing anonymous U.S. government officials have said that it was actually a medium or intermediate range ballistic missile, MRBM or IRBM. The RS-26 is officially categorized as an ICBM, but experts have long assessed that it is more likely an IRBM. MRBMs, IRBMs, and ICBMs are categorized by their maximum ranges between 620 and 1,860 miles, between 1,864 and 3,418 miles, and greater than 3,418 miles, respectively. Miles and distance and everything. I'm having flashbacks to last night's stream. In response to the use of American and British weaponry on November 21st this year, Russian armed forces conducted a combined strike on one of Ukraine's defense industrial complex facilities, unquote, Putin said in a televised address. Quote, this included testing one of Russia's latest medium-range missile systems in combat conditions. In this case, a ballistic missile equipped with non-nuclear hypersonic technology, referred to as Orishnik by our missile forces, unquote. Yeah, they were non-nuclear tipped. This time is the implication, I think. Quote, targets for engagement during further testing of our newest missile complexes will be determined based on threats to the security of the Russian Federation, unquote. He added, quote, when selecting targets for such systems as Orishnik on Ukrainian territory, we will ensure that civilians, as well as citizens of friendly nations present in those areas, are advised to leave potential danger zones in advance. This will be done openly, publicly, and out of humanitarian considerations without fear of opposition from the enemy, unquote. In his remarks, Putin said that Orishnik, which means hazel in Russian, keeping with the country's tradition of naming ballistic missiles after trees, Okay, had a peak speed of Mach 10, but provided no other details about the weapon. He also made no mention of any connection to the RS-26, which work on which was publicly shelved in 2018. Imagery from today's attack on Ukraine looks to show 6 warheads descending on the target and multiple resulting impacts. Quote, I can confirm that Russia did launch an experimental intermediate-range ballistic missile, unquote, Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary Sabrina Singh said at a routine press conference today. Quote, this IRBM was based on Russia's RS-26 Rubis intercontinental ballistic missile model, unquote. Say that 7 times fast. Singh added that the U.S. government has been notified about the launch beforehand, or had been notified about the launch beforehand through nuclear risk reduction channels. That's comforting. We raised this very real possibility in our initial report. This contradicts separate remarks from Dmitry Peskov, spokesperson for Putin, who said today that Russia has no obligation to make such notification for launches of medium-range weapons. Quote, Russia launched an experimental intermediate-range ballistic missile against Ukraine, another U.S. government official told the War Zone directly. Quote, while we take all threats against Ukraine seriously, it is important to keep a few key facts in mind. Russia likely possesses only a handful of these experimental missiles, unquote. Well, great. I'm sure a handful, well, let's say 5. Okay, they used 1 that didn't have any nuclear warheads attached to it. They got 4 left. That could have warheads attached to it. So, I mean, how many do you really need to cause some significant damage? The RS-26 is itself reportedly a smaller derivative of the RS-24 YARS ICBM. YARS? Okay. Rubis is also understood to have multiple independently targetable reentry vehicle or MIRV configuration, and was associated in the past with the development of the Avangard hypersonic boost glide vehicle. Boy, oh boy, I'm getting my vocabulary run for its money today. Russia has publicly fielded Avangard in a silo-based configuration using a repurposed ICBM rocketed booster. Hypersonic boost glide vehicles offer capabilities that are particularly hard to defend against, as you can read more about here. Okay. Whether Oreshnik carries standard reentry vehicles, maneuvering ones, or true hypersonic boost glide vehicles remains unknown. Larger ballistic missiles and their payloads, in general, typically reach hypersonic speeds. A picture said to show a piece of the Oreshnik after the attack looks to be a part that is also found in the Bulava submarine-launched ballistic missile, and that is linked to the production of components for other Russian strategic ballistic missiles. Okay, that's not the end of the article. Regardless of its exact configuration and capabilities, Russia's use of Oreshnik is also the latest example of the country using the conflict in Ukraine as an opportunity to demonstrate new and advanced weapons systems. Sure. The war has already seen the first operational use of the Kinzhal air-launched ballistic missile and the sea-launched Zircon air-breathing hypersonic cruise missile. Boy, oh boy. In addition, the introduction of a new ostensibly hypersonic weapon comes amid continued efforts to bolster Ukraine's air and missile defenses, Western-supplied Patriot surface-to-air missile systems have been notably effective against Kinzhal, as well as ground-launched ballistic missiles. At a peak speed of Mach 10, Oreshnik could be moving faster than a system like Patriot can reliably intercept. Quote, existing modern air defense systems worldwide, including the missile defense systems created by Americans in Europe, cannot intercept such missiles. It's impossible, Putin explicitly boasted in his announcement about Oreshnik today. This all feels like it's one convoluted, glorified advertisement for military contracts. It's like, well, we need to build a better missile to get out this missile and Ay, caramba. Using an experimental and expensive capability like Oreshnik, which also likely has lower accuracy in its conventional mode than existing long-range munitions that Russia has been using on Ukraine, is also clearly intended to send broader messages to Ukraine's foreign benefactors. No kidding. You mean this is saber-rattling? Putin has not explicitly said it was in retaliation for Ukraine getting approval to employ U.S.-made Army tactical missile systems, or ATACMS, short-range ballistic missiles, and British-supplied Storm Shadow. Storm Shadow. Boy, just taking our military equipment names from G.I. Joe. I love it. Do we have a roadblock, like anti-road system yet? Or would be a good one. Do we have a Zartan? Tell me there's a Zartan out there somewhere. I don't even know what it is. Like a spy drone. Actually, that'd be great. Yeah, if it was a spy drone, that'd be perfect if you called it the Zartan. I'm showing off my G.I. Joe nerdery over here. Anyway, Storm Shadow air-launched cruise missiles against targets in Russia. Quote, Ukraine has withstood countless attacks from Russia, including from missiles with significantly larger warheads than this weapon. Let me be clear. Russia may be seeking to use this capability to try to intimidate Ukraine and its supporters or generate attention in the information space, but it will not be a game changer in this conflict, unquote, the aforementioned U.S. government official told the War Zone. The aforementioned U.S. government official who has no name. Okay. Quote, we briefed Ukraine and chose allies, partners in recent days, we briefed Ukraine and close allies / partners in recent days about Russia's possible use of this weapon to help them prepare, unquote. How do you prepare for a Mach 10 multi-warheaded missile? What do you prepare for that? I don't know. Quote, as the president announced earlier this year, the United States is providing Ukraine with hundreds of additional Patriot and AMRAAM missiles, AMRAAM, to strengthen its air defenses. Many of these air defense missiles have been delivered already as a consequence of the president's decision to divert air defense exports to Ukraine, and deliveries of additional air defense missiles to Ukraine are ongoing, unquote. And as the president directed in September, the United States will continue to surge security assistance to Ukraine to strengthen capabilities, up until the very last minute before the purse strings are purportedly going to be cut by Trump, including air defense, and put Ukraine in the best possible position on the battlefield. Best possible position of what? At this point, all they can do is try to hold territory within Russian borders to try to use as leverage in some kind of land swap negotiation to bring the current conflict to an end. Maybe. That's about it. Otherwise, the only way this thing is going to get resolved is through a land deal that makes Ukraine smaller and keeps Russia at bay for some period of time. It's just, I don't know what to tell you. It is an uphill battle all the way, and no pun intended, but the only resolution of this is some version of a brokered peace. Ukraine isn't going to win, and Russia's not going to surrender. So, anyway. With Putin's threat to continue employing Orezhniks, more information about the missile and its RS-26 predecessor may now start to emerge. Oh, well, thank goodness. But there you go. So that was from Your Ridiculous Lunatic. I got an education on ballistic missiles. Go back to the Discord real quick. Don't see any other articles there. So I guess with that, and a little bit shorter than usual, but that's all right. I did a stream last night. If you guys want to have some more DEI information, and actually is very relevant to the article we just read from Fox News, I think, about Ayanna Pressley and opposing the DEI legislation. DEI and public procurement. I got about halfway through that podcast, but it was a very enlightening one because you had individuals from all over the country and in different sectors talking about trying to justify, trying to wrap their minds and their, I don't know, the mental athletics they have to do to work a diversity, equity, and inclusion philosophy into using taxpayer money. It's actually very much on point, accidentally so, with that article. But anyway, I did about half of that podcast. If you liked what you saw on that one last night and you want to hear more of that podcast, let me know. I may do a part 2. Also, because I was off the grid earlier this week, I did not have the opportunity to do my weekly TED Excellence show. And so, this coming week, I may indeed do 2 TED Excellence shows. I'm thinking doing one on Tuesday and then doing one as per usual on Thursday. It'll be a Thanksgiving show, so I'll have to find something Thanksgiving-y, if that's a word, in subject matter for the TED Excellence. We'll see if I can find something like that or similar to in the coming days. Beyond that, everybody, I think I'm going to wrap things up here. I'll take a second here for any other comments you guys have. Lunatic, have you seen the video of the reentry and impact scribe light? I've seen video of, I believe I have, yes. In the last day or so, I did see on Twitter, sorry, X. I did see on X some videos that purported to show the entry of the missiles. And it looked pretty apocalyptic, let's say. I was having flashbacks for some reason to the TV movie The Day After. I don't know why. Just one of those things. Let's see. Super Mutant 2099, all left-wingers celebrating Chuck Woolery's death on X. Yeah, Chuck Woolery. Boy, oh boy. 83 years old. Game show host extraordinaire for throughout my entire life, practically. Passed away. I remember seeing him on Twitter, back when it was Twitter, making some spicy takes public on his Twitter stream. And now apparently, I hadn't seen these celebrating his death by left-wingers, but I could believe it these days. I could believe it. Let's see. Anything else? Let's see. Advocast Diablo. Have you ever stopped and thought that maybe someone who works in the government is named unknown sources? You know, that would be great. That would be great. You have to change your name to someone familiar with the matter. Seriously, if somebody changed their legal name to someone familiar with the matter, you could be quoted everywhere. You would be the perfect source for everything. All they'd have to say is, blah, 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 said someone familiar with the matter. Now, the only giveaway would be that every word of that would be capitalized, but, most people probably wouldn't catch that. But it'd be great. Keldrig, we have another month and some before Biden is out. Let's hope he doesn't start World War III in that time. Well, I tell you what, by giving Ukraine permission, which, if there was ever an illusion that this was a proxy war, it's all out the window anyway. But giving Ukraine permission to start firing American missiles further into Russian territory wasn't the most provocative thing you could do in your lame duck period before you're out and the new guy comes in. I don't know. I would love to know what the thinking is on that. I'd like to hear the honest truth as to what the thinking is on that. I think everybody should be demanding that of the government right now, especially what the election just showed us and everything else. That's not a bigger story right now is insane to me. But just before the start of a new presidential, for no good reason, let's escalate the war. Let's increase it. Let's turn it not into just a resistance movement against an invader. No, let's actually start doing some proactive attacking, more so than before, and with American materiel, and with American go-ahead, and with the threat that we're going to get even more involved and lay this at the feet of the incoming president and of the country. Maybe they're trying to get back at Trump, but there are more people in this country than Donald Trump. But they don't care. They really don't care. Anyway, all that being said, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. One more time before I forget, a link to the Discord server. Link is in the chat right now. Click on that link. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to give the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you're not a bot and can thus join the Discord server. And today's secret word is article. Just say hello, article. And you will become a member of the Discord server and can take part in all the fun that goes on the Discord server. Beyond that, again, keep an eye out for Tuesday for a TED Excellence, Thursday for a TED Excellence, and hopefully in the coming mornings of the next couple of days, I'll be able to return again to Midnight's Edge in the morning, and perhaps as well Midnight Edge after dark. Although, truth be told, and here's the only sort of exception I'll give, I am having to play catch-up on 3+ days of work that I was unable to do, and work things and the lead up to Thanksgiving may mess with my schedule even more. So I'll keep you guys as updated as I can on X. You can follow me at scribe_light, as they're on the screen. And beyond all that, everybody, anything else I want to say before I do the wrap-up? Oh yeah, leave a like if you like this kind of thing, or a dislike if you don't. Share this stuff out to friends, family members, Or if you don't like this kind of thing, share it with your worst enemy. They might become a viewer of mine. I don't know. And beyond that, let's see. Yeah. Everyone, thank you for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, link at the top of the chat box. Thank you guys so much for your generosity. Very much appreciated. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Hope you're all safe and warm where you are. I hope you're also safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. I will see you on the next one. Take care.